Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Running the Gauntlet here in Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3. We will be continuing through our look and analysis of the Gauntlet runs located within the DLC Expansion 1, Curse of the Vampire, and given that we looked at the level 5 Gauntlet run last time, we will now be looking or turning our attention to the level 10 Immortal War Gauntlet. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, this is the Gauntlet where you first unlock Punisher as a playable character after purchasing the DLC, but there are 4 different criteria that you can clear out and gain some additional rewards. So let's jump in and have a look at what we can gain from here, and if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a like on the video, and as always, subscribe if you haven't already, as the subscription is free and easy, and there's videos coming to you on a daily basis. The first leg of this Gauntlet consists of a fight with Bullseye. And something important to remember about these fights throughout the run of the Gauntlet is you start the Gauntlet, and every time you cycle back through the Gauntlet, you will have your extreme attacks refreshed, but you will not be able to gain them back during the course of the Gauntlet, meaning once you use them once in any of the 4 legs of the Gauntlet, it is gone until you refresh and to the top, which is a little bit unfortunate because the extreme attack do deal additional damage in every single chapter, but you only get one chance to use them. So I will get into my recommendations of where I see the extreme attacks being most useful as we get in a little bit further. However, that is not the end-all be-all here, as you can also deal increased damage to the opponents and to Bullseye by using ability and synergy attacks as well. So, though every single other attack that you may throw out is going to deal less damage, dealing any ability or synergy type damage is going to greatly assist in burning through the attack a little bit quicker. Though this first leg is a little bit tricky in the effect that it's really the only one where every single other type of attack damage or your basic and standard attacks are going to deal less. In the second leg of the Gauntlet, we will be encountering a match where we need to take on 200 enemies. The majority of these enemies are the standard grunt type enemies, but you will have a couple of the mighty enemies that crop up later on into the run. As you continue to fight them and take out these mighty enemies, you will have explosive canisters that will generate that will allow you to clear things out a little bit quicker. But I have found it highly beneficial to use characters that have wide area of effects. And I talk a lot about Gambit's Dangerous Ground, as well as Miles Morales' Elektra Web, but there is a third character that does really well in these types of scenarios, and that is Dr. Doom. If you're not familiar with the way that Dr. Doom works, he can summon in a Doombot anywhere across the stage, and then the Doombot will mimic his actions. You can then use this energy bolt attack and sweep back and forth across the arena, as the Doombot will target the exact same area that you are. It covers a large area of attack, and we burned through 60 or so enemies in a very short time frame there towards the end of that Gauntlet. The third leg consists of a fight against Elektra, and this is fairly standard in comparison with what you would otherwise experience from the main synergy quest. You can notice that as you progress through this fight, your HP is slowly draining, but you do recover your HP as you deal damage to your enemies, and there are no shortage of enemies that you will encounter as you take this on. You may want to switch back and forth to a couple members of your team to refresh that, or to gain some of your health back as it continues to drain off of those characters, but all things considered, it's fairly straightforward, and you can take out Elektra with relative ease as you are needing to clear through this portion of the Gauntlet. Now, the fourth and final leg is probably the most technical of the 3, where you do have 3 different bosses that you need to fight. First, you have Dr. Octopus that spawns in, and the only caveat with this is, again, your extreme attacks are going to deal more damage, but there's no other quirks or damage reductions that you need to be aware of. Once Dr. Octopus has been taken care of, you do have Kingpin that spawns in, and he's fairly straightforward as well, as you really only have to deal with what his first phase would be, instead of the whole secondary phase. And once Kingpin has been taken down, you are confronted by Punisher. Now, again, if this is your first time ever going through this gauntlet, upon the conclusion of this first run and this encounter with Punisher, you will unlock him as a playable character. And as we continue through this gauntlet, we will be able to get the different clear conditions in order to gain all of the rewards available from this, which is what we're going to transition and talk about now, while I have some other runs of the gauntlet continuing to play here in the background. So the first clear criteria, or getting the first star, is very simple. All you really need to do is exactly what we just watched, and that is go through each leg of the gauntlet once, and you're going to get this cleared automatically when you just go through to get your access to Punisher as a playable character. You do gain 144 shield tokens as you clear that out, so there's the definite benefit to be had there in terms of gaining that currency, which you can use to get stuff in the main store. The second portion of this gauntlet is similar in its ease of acquiring. It also grants you 144 shield tokens upon clearing it out, and that is earning a score of 130,000. You're more than likely going to attain that within the first run of the gauntlet, as well as you can get a very high amount of score just by taking out the enemies that happen to pop up in your way. So you really don't need to stress or worry about that one too much at all. The third criteria is going to be one that takes a couple of cycles through the gauntlet, and that is because it requires defeating 500 enemies. Because in the first run of the gauntlet, you can maybe get around 250 if you're tracking down absolutely every single character that pops in, every single enemy that you can defeat. And this stage that we're looking at here, where we need to defeat 200 enemies, is going to be the most helpful in getting this cleared out. That being said, you're still going to at least get 2 runs through this gauntlet before you have the 500 enemies defeated required to gain the benefit here. And instead of earning shield tokens, you actually earn 2 ability orbs, which honestly I rather would have seen the shield tokens, because there does come a point where the ability orbs are kind of obsolete and they don't do much for you in terms of doing anything or adding any meaningful dynamic to the team. The fourth and final clear condition that you are looking for, or will need to obtain with this rift, is the most tedious, and it's due to the nature of the gauntlet itself. That is dealing 350,000 or more damage with extreme attacks. And given that you get to use your extreme attack once per character per run of the gauntlet, that can be a little bit tricky. So there are 2 main quests that I would recommend using your extreme attacks in your one run to get the most damage out of it as possible. The first section that I recommend is actually that second section that we had just watched, because as there are multiple enemies that spawn in and increase damage that you deal with your extreme attacks, that will provide a very, very beneficial time frame in order to bolster the attack damage that you are dealing with your extreme attacks. The other area which I would find beneficial is if you want to go ahead and use it in the last leg of the fight against the 3 main boss characters, especially because it can help you rip through it a little bit quicker, as one use of an extreme attack should be fairly easy in its use to take out most if not all of the health of the boss characters that you would be interacting with. And as we get into this section here, you should start to see that, as we have Gambit using his extreme attack here on Dr. Octopus. Unfortunately, Dr. Octopus did initiate his little spiderling type attack where he runs away from you, which did take away from the efficiency of the use of that extreme attack. So you will have to be cautious with the first 2 characters being Dr. Octopus and the Kingpin, as they do have abilities which they can use to trek over or run away from you and your team as you seek to take them out. But they also do telegraph those attacks pretty well, so you should be able to identify and track them down relatively easy. The other thing that may be helpful, especially with using an extreme attack on Kingpin, is right as soon as he starts off, just going ahead and using your extreme attack, as he isn't likely to run away really quickly, as there is a downtime as he gets his attack started. And with my team dynamic, I found Dr. Doom's extreme attack the best to levy against Punisher. Punisher doesn't like to run around or move very much. He very much stays in the same general area as he spawns in, and that gives you a very good use of Dr. Doom's extreme attack, especially because Dr. Doom's attack does have a very long startup. Now, I ill-advise using an extreme attack when you don't have a character down into his stagger or staggered out, because he's a lot more vulnerable to the attack damage at that point. But in these circumstances where your extreme attack damage is being souped up anyway, it's really something that you can draw benefit from. But that is going to do it for our look at the Immortal War Gauntlet and the clear conditions for those 4 stars. So if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more daily content. We'll be back with another Minecraft video tomorrow, and the next installment of Running the Gauntlet will take place on Monday. Thanks again for watching, and have yourself a fantastic rest of your day.